random internet friend. Here are those instructions for mounting the snakeskin that I promised you a while back. I'm sorry it took me this long to get to you. So anyway, basically what we're just going to do is show you how to cut it so it will mount properly. This here is Jupiter. I know it's a little bit hard to see him sideways. I'll lift up what I'm doing as often as I can to show you, but it's really not that difficult once you've seen it done. When you're doing these projects, a hard surface like a table and a pair of scissors is technically all you need. However, I find that getting nice smooth lines on my cuts is harder with scissors because the skin is so movable because it's so thin. Because of that, I tend to use a rotary cutter instead. Now, if you're doing this as a one-off project, these things can be kind of expensive, so it's not worth it. But if you have multiple animals or you're making them for gifts or whatever the case may be, you might want to invest in one of these if you don't already have it. To go along with your rotary cutter, if you decide to use one, you are going to want a self-healing mat. For cutting, you can get these at any fabric store, craft store. I believe I got this one at an auto supply store. I think they use it for like drafting for different components. So anyway, that's pretty much what you need there. I've already taken the liberty with this skin of unrolling it and getting most of the crinkles out. There's going to be a few that'll be easier to get rid of once we start working with it, but it's as good as it's going to get for the moment. So first thing you need to do, get yourself a piece of paper that goes along with the frame that you're going to be using, cut it to size. I guess that's kind of self-explanatory, but just in case, mentioning it. This here is the glass for the frame that I'll be using. So what I do is once I have the snakeskin lined up so that it's more or less how it's going to be, minus a little bit of tweaking, I just take the frame and I kind of play with it and I figure out where I want the snake to sit in it. Now I know that the frame is about a ½ inch or so you got to remember to leave room for that. I've got about 1 inch from the nose, which is right here. There we go, you can see it now. The nose is right there, the glass is right here. And just flop it down so you know more or less what you need to work with. I always cut a little bit extra. As you know, you can always take off some if you have to. You can't add it. Conveniently, there's actually a little spot there where he cut himself when he was shedding, or I should say he cut the shed. So that's a perfect place to end the cut. And see how nice that rotary blade went through it as opposed to having to argue with scissors. Put the rest of that out of the way. So, close that up. Move the glass out of the way for now. The skin is still a little bit damp. I was just taking out some of the crinkles before I started filming. You will need a pair of scissors for this part. I prefer using something that's thin and sharp like this. It's up to your preference, really, what works for you. So what we're going to do is, the skin has been unrolled. I haven't flipped it inside out. So this is exactly how it would be on the snake. So we're looking at the inside of the skin here, and the head is on the outside, or the outside of the head is what's sticking there. So we're going to put it so that the outside part is up. So we're looking at the belly and the scoots. And I apologize, my video editing skills suck. I haven't quite figured out how to do the little fast forward thing, so you're gonna have to watch me cut this. I apologize. But basically what we're just gonna do is we're going to go in. I had a bit too much caffeine today, so my hands are shaking, please forgive me. And we're going to go through and we're going to cut all of the scoots. It doesn't need to be pretty, it doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to be cut. Be very aware of where your scissor blades are. Sometimes the tips will get caught in the back of the snakeskin and it will cut your part that you want to show off. That's not good. Oh, there we go. A little bit of substrate in there. I find that while you are going to want to clean the skin up for things like pieces of substrate that are stuck to it, or if your snake is like a lot of mine and they like to poop in their skins. Clean out as much as you can beforehand, but don't be too worried about it. It's a lot easier if you go through and clean it up after you cut, because you're not dealing with a tube sock at that point. You're just dealing with a nice smooth piece of skin. All right, and we're just going to cut this up, and we're going to go right through the chin. The chin doesn't want to cut because there's always that nice little bit of really tightly rolled scales there. All right, so now that that cut has been done up and through, we're just going to lay this out. And, oh good, we don't have to do that with this one. All right, so we're looking at the skin. Give me a second here to pull out a few wrinkles. There we go. Again, a lot of those wrinkles will work themselves out once we start doing the final cuts for it. But once you cut it out, we've got these. Here, let me grab the phone so you can see a bit better. Oh, here we go. All right, so when you're looking at it, you can see we've got like these bat wings for where the lower jaw used to be. Now, we don't want those there because, as we know, snakes can't fly. They don't need wings. So we're going to need to trim all of that down. You'll also see where the scoots are. We're going to trim those out. And those, in this case, we're going to trim out those large belly scales as well that attach to the back of the snake skin where the saddles are. How much you want to trim is up to personal preference and how you think it looks good. I trim back right to where the saddles begin. I find that the scoots look a little bit messy on the frame that I had posted in the forum. I had actually left the scoots on for the king snakes, and every time I look at it, I kind of regret having done that, and I kind of keep thinking maybe I'm going to take it down and neaten it up. I just haven't done it yet. But that's a personal preference. It's up to you, but you are going to want to get rid of those wings at the very least for the jaw. The lower, or those, let's see here. Yeah, those big scales here, again, especially because in this case, we've got some holes there where he caught on his, when he was shedding. We aren't going to want those on the mounting. So I'm just going to trim those right off too. But again, that's a personal, how you think it looks. Let's get this back here again so you can see what I'm doing. And I apologize. I know I'm not the most organized for this. All right. So what we're going to do now is make sure that any crinkles right around where we're cutting are gone. Just use a little bit of water for that. And some of the wrinkles will actually best come out once we get rid of those lower jaw pieces. I'm just got a little bit here that I want to try to get before I cut. Should still be damp enough. I'd wet it down pretty good before I started filming this, so I would be able to make little adjustments if I had to. We should be good. All right, so what I just do from here is I take my nice little rotary blade and I make sure that I've got as many of those little accordion pleats out as possible. So you can see I'm pulling them out a little bit more. Stuff that I wasn't able to get neatened up earlier, I can now that I've got that done. Okay, so you can still see me. Pull out the blade. And so as I mentioned, I don't like to have the big scales there or the scoots, so I'm going to take them right out. So you just find where the saddles start and you're just going to trim right along. Basically, you're just going to play connect the dots with where the saddles are, and you are going to just follow it right along. Now, when you get to the neck area and the cheek, you're going basically where that lower jaw is. You're going to want to do a little bit of an in curve to basically show off where the neck to the jawline and the head meet. So it's a little hard to see on this piece, but you can see how that's the top of the jaw that I'm holding on to there. You can see how it's kind of got a little bit of a curve in. that's what I did there. Now that's got a little bit of a pleat to pull out. So normally you wouldn't want to pick this up and play with it before you're done cutting, but because this is a demonstration, you can see here again, I've got a little bit of a curve. There's the eye, and then there's the stripe that kind of goes into the side, and then you can kind of see where there's that little bit of a curve. So that kind of shows off where those jaw muscles are and where they blend into where the neck would be. And we're just going to put this down. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And I think I may have forgotten if this is the right side up or the upside down. So that could be something for you to laugh at me for in a minute. Actually, yeah, because I cut the other side. There we go. This is good. All right. So again, just grab your blade and start it by where the scoots are, maybe a little bit to the side of where the scoots are, but right, or not the scoots, sorry, the saddles. And you're just going to cut along the side of them. Connect the dots, and remember to do that nice little in curve once you hit where the neck would be to show off those jaw muscles. Sometimes when you're cutting it, you'll get, I don't know if you can see it or not. Here you can kind of see it a little bit, maybe. There we go. It kind of sticks out a little bit like that because of how the lips tend to curl. So just keep an eye open for things like that. There's a couple of hot spots for those little jagged spots and that, but that's the main one. So just make sure to go in and neaten it up. Obviously we are going to want to keep this as close to possible to the actual snake shape. Let's try that again. We're going to want to keep it as close as possible to the main shape of the snake, of course. But this is also an art project, so if you have to take a little bit of liberties to even things out and make them look a little bit less derpy, go for it. Sometimes that's not always possible. Again, if you were looking at my post up bottom right-hand corner, everybody's been commenting on poor Zeus. He looks like a sock puppet. Normally, he's a very pretty rainbow boa, so sometimes you can do so much. So we have the skin here, and yep, that's definitely right side up. So next is basically the easy part from here. Is in this case I just have a, I'm going to use two things here. Make your life a little bit easier when you're doing this because the less movement when you mount it, the better. So this is the back of the frame that I'll be using. So just start with it on the ground right there. Put your paper on it so it all lines up nice and neat. And then we're just going to put our snake down. And this is where it can be a little bit of a pain because of course it's going to want to wrinkle again when you move it. And it's going to want to kind of stick to the paper, especially if it's still a little bit damp like this particular skin is. And there we go. And he's got a big wrinkle in his head. Give me 2 seconds to get rid of that. Maybe more than 2 seconds. Come on, wrinkle, let you come. But yeah, that's one of those wrinkles that didn't want to come out while the jaw was still attached on the bottom. So now that it's out, we can fix the shaping a little bit better because it doesn't have that one extra layer of skin to be a problem. And then once you have all of your crinkles taken out, if you need to adjust it around, I find it's easiest just to kind of grab that bottom bit and kind of lightly tug on it. And basically from here, you just kind of pet it down and hopefully all of your wrinkles will come out. There's a very good chance you're not going to get all of the wrinkles. Just get as many as you can. I was lucky, actually, there was very little substrate on this skin, so I didn't have to take the step of going to rinse it off. It was already more than acceptable for what I will accept for the moment. And again, this is a demonstration. It's not a full-fledged thing. Little trick, and I know this is a stupid thing and I probably shouldn't have to mention it, but just in case sometimes the stupidest tricks are the ones that need mentioning, is before you put your glass on for your frame, take a second to get a little bit of Pledge, Windex, whatever it is you want to use, quick step wort on both sides, and give it a wipe, because if you don't, then there's a good chance that you will have fingerprints on the inside of your glass, and that will probably drive you absolutely insane once you see where it is, and you're going to have to take it apart and fix it. So since we don't want to have to take it apart and fix it, take a quick second here to Windex it down. Oh, this big one's a pain. I mainly do this with littler frames, but this is what I had available to me. So now that we have our glass all ready to go, that little streak. Come on, streak, go away. There we go. All right, so now that we have the snake ready to go, got our glass ready to go, just put it down. I find I like to do it in a way that I don't keep fingerprinting it up. This is going to be the next hour of the video. We're going to sit here and watch me clean glass. All right. So I like to do it so that when I put it down, I start at the bottom and go up. So that way anything that's loose is going to want to go up towards the top of the snake. So the wrinkles should come out, and it should also help to flatten out that nose piece as well. That's always going to want to be a little crinkled because of where the lips are, and with the lips being curvy, it won't want to stay flat. So you're just going to line up and lower it down and drop it. Poor Jupiter here does look a little bit derpy. As you can see, it's basically how it's going to turn out, but we can fix that head a little bit. I would like to do so because he deserves better than that. And so for that, again, just kind of grab the glass. And you might have to play with this a little bit to get it to lay flat, or to lay at least in a way that you think is acceptable for your snake to be mounted. All right, Jupes. Let's fix your head. You might want to use a very, very small dab of like glue off of a glue stick, or something to that effect. If you have spray glue, maybe just before you do it, make sure to test it on a spare piece of paper and a spare piece of snakeskin to make sure that it's not going to show through or have bubbles or whatever. I make jewelry as well with the skins, and sometimes I found that the glue stick can be a lifesaver, but I've also found that depending on the paper, sometimes it is your worst nightmare. So you might be something to play with. All right, this time I'm going to put it down a little bit more even, so you just kind of get it in place and drop it. And yeah, that's better. It's still not perfect, but again, we're dealing with the snake skin for a round animal on a flat surface, so it's never going to be perfect. It's always going to be derpy, but that's how you do it. All right, now let me just get the frame. Frame goes here, and in this case, because I already put the back of the frame on, oh, there's little black spots on my glass, or my paper, I'm not sure which. Remember we were saying earlier about fingerprints? Yeah, right there. Come on, let go. All right. And I'm a little particular about doing Jupiter because he's my baby. He was my first boa ever, so, you know, he's the golden child, special one. So I want to make sure that he is well taken care of. Come on. All right, black things are gone. Glass is clean. Let's try this one more time. There we go. So yeah, that time I actually just dropped it flat down and it worked. Again, it's one of those ones, sometimes you're just going to have to play with it a few times. You would think that the framing part would be the easiest. It's actually the trickiest because no two snake skins act the same, but generally speaking, this is the pattern you want to follow. I do still have a little bit of extra skin hanging out at the end there, so I'm just going to use my blade here and neaten that up before I put the frame on it. And again, that's something you can't do with scissors without taking it all apart. So yeah, these things, absolutely amazing. Four years of fashion design school. Never did anything with it, but the fact that I learned about rotary blades, totally worth it. And all right, so because I'm on the floor, I don't have a lot of space off of that, but you're just going to want to pick up your frame like normal. And it's just at this point, you're going to treat it like any other picture that you're framing. Just the only thing is make sure that when you're picking it up, to have the back of the frame, or at least the paper that you're mounting it on, hold on to it tight, because you can see it's kind of moving around a little bit. And I seem to have lost. There it is. You go there. All right, so we have the frame on it. It's just a matter at this point of putting it down. And voila, that's it. That's all there is to it. If you want another little project, I don't know whether or not this interests you or not, but give me half a second and I can show you something else really quick, basically by using the same method. Just give me a second here. I'm just going to pause this for half a second so I can show you what it is I'm on about. Okay, so something else that you can do with the skins, especially these are great for like Christmas presents, or if you do craft fairs, or extra little things at tables for expos and stuff, is you can make jewelry out of these things. So basically what you do is you can go on to Amazon, AliExpress, any of those sites like that, and you get, they're called bezel trays, or sometimes they'll be listed as cabochons. I'm probably mangling the pronunciation on that. So what they are is you've got these little trays, and if I can open this up, there we go. So you've got a little tray. They come in all kinds of like different color shades, different designs. Some of them got like little lacy bits around them. And then what you do is you would put the snake skin in the same way that I just showed you for the picture frame. You can use colored paper again if you want to have something funky. You would do that. Then they come with these little glass domes. You stick the dome inside or over top of your snake skin in the tray, and then you glue it down. And they make some really neat looking jewelry. The glue you want to use, it's called, I believe it's liquid diamond, I believe. If you just put in like diamond craft glue in Amazon, it'll come up. It's a white bottle with a purple label on it. But some of the ones that I've made, just to show off, this one here is, I used a purple background, and it is off of an IMG snake's shed. She's a juvenile yet still, so she doesn't have her full black coloring yet, but she's working on it. This is a bracelet, which is actually something else you can make with these. And this one, see if I can get my hands to stop shaking. Here we go. Yeah, so this here is like another option. It's not showing up the best under this light, but there we go. I think that's a bit better. So yeah, you can do that. I think that one's off of the IMG as well, if I'm not mistaken. This one here is off of a Conda Hognose. This is not one of mine. It was a gift from a friend who has been collecting skins for me. So we have that one. I have a few other head ones as well too. So yeah, so that is something else you can do with them. If I can find it, I had it here a second ago. Oh, here we go. Sorry. So yeah, I've got this one here. You can do funky things as well. Like if you get colored foil, this one, trying to get it so the light's not reflecting off of it too badly. There we go, sort of. All right, it's not really the best, but you can kind of get the idea. There on a package of tinfoil that I had, there's like the red foil on the packaging, And I used that for the background for this one, so I know that it's not the best picture. I'll probably put some of this jewelry stuff up on the forum eventually at some point. I just didn't want to be like, completely putting a whole bunch of stuff up at once and dumping it. But eventually they probably will go up with better pictures. But anyway, what you would just do is the exact same framing technique. You would take your skin, your head, whatever you're using, put it on some paper, measure it out, stick it in the frame, plunk the glass over it, same idea. The only difference is that in this case, you'll take that diamond glue that I mentioned, and you'll use that to glue down the glass to the metal so it'll stay put. I have found for myself the best way to do it is to take a very thin paintbrush. Just go to the dollar store. It doesn't need to be anything special. Put a couple of dabs of glue on piece of paper, piece of tinfoil, whatever, separate. Use the brush in the paint, and then just get the brush right into the little crevices between the glass and the tray, and just put it in there, because that way it gets it in there. It's all worked in. It keeps the glue from bubbling once you put it in. And the other thing as well is that if you just use the nozzle to put the glue in, it's overkill. And not only that, but sometimes what will happen is the glue will squish into the actual piece underneath the glass. And then when it dries, the paper underneath it has a different consistency because it's now been wet by the glue, and you can tell that something has gone on there. Whereas if you use the paintbrush, you have more control over how much glue goes in there. And it doesn't tend to get that spread. Like I said, you don't really tend to have to worry about bubbles, and that's it. After you glue it, you're going to want to get some sort of a clip or a weight. I don't have one on me here. But you know how you see them in like office supply stores? They're like the metal clip, and then they've got the two prongs that you like open up to open the clip, and then you shut it down. You'll probably know what I'm talking about if you could see one. Unfortunately, I don't have one on me, but use something like that to like just hold it down. Even if you just put like a heavy book on it or something, you just want to keep that pressure on it for about 2 hours while it dries. And congratulations, you have some jewelry to go along with your pictures. Anyway, I hope that helps. I didn't mean it to be this long, but unfortunately, like I said, my editing sucks and I don't know how to fast forward through the actual manual stuff. So anyway, it is what it is. I guess you can use the fast forward button on your end. I'm assuming you probably already have. Thank you so much for bearing with me this long. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to buzz me. I'll help you with what I can, and hopefully in a less wordy version. Have a great day and happy framing.